Hey there, happy Friday. Welcome to this week's marketing training. As usual, hopefully we're coming through okay. If you are viewing this, if this is showing up in your feed, in your post, whatever on your browser, would you mind just giving this a like of some kind just to let me know that you can see me okay? Just pop a like under this video. I would hate to get through this entire thing and talk to an empty room, although that has happened. Hopefully we've got a couple people joining us here. If you're watching this, do you mind just popping even if you're just passing by, just popping a like down below. We're talking about SEO today, the 3 letters everyone talks about. But can feel very, very overwhelming. For such a short name, SEO sure can feel overwhelming. Am I coming through okay? You hear me all right? Hopefully. We've got quite a few eyes on here. So, like I mentioned, we're talking about SEO today. If my face is new to you, hi, really happy that you're here. My name's Anna. I run this amazing group, Get Booked Out. We're all about marketing your practice in this group in a way that isn't just effective, because I want you to see results, and I believe you deserve to get booked out doing what you love, but is also authentic to the work that you do. There's a lot of marketing advice out there that feels not genuine and that might feel a little bit slimy or inauthentic. And so I really want to empower you to grow your practice in a way that feels really true to you and connects with those clients that you ultimately love to do this work with. So we are nearly to 4,000 folks inside of this group, which is incredible. So like I said, if you're new here, I'm really happy that you're here. If you're not new here, I'm also happy that you're here. The beauty of being here live is that you get to ask questions. And I know that SEO is something that you probably have a lot of questions around because it is a very deep, wide, I call it the wild, wild west of the internet. So chances are you've got a question or two, and I am here at the end of this training to answer those for you. So please feel free to drop those into the comments. If you're catching the replay of this video, if you're not able to join us live, that's a-okay. If you'll do me a favor and just drop a hashtag replay into the comments, that will make sure that I see any questions you have surrounding Google, SEO, your website, things like that. So without further ado, I haven't gotten any likes, but I'm seeing a lot of people. Okay, I have some likes. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. So without further ado, let's dive in. So we're talking about the 4 reasons your website isn't showing up on Google. Now, as I just mentioned, I refer to SEO as the wild, wild west. There is a lot to SEO, and we're not going to get into all of it. It's just not possible in a short little marketing training on a Friday morning. But the beauty of it is that as a therapist, you do not have to be a tech genius. You do not have to know every single thing about SEO, or get another bachelor's degree in search engine optimization in order to have a website that ranks on Google. You really, really can make it happen on your own with some education and with some best practices put into place on your website and in your marketing, and I want to equip you with those things. So there's nothing more frustrating, I know, than working on your website, working and working and working. I know how labor intensive a website can be, and then not getting the results that you want from it. We talk about that a lot in this group, and there is nothing more frustrating than doing research on SEO or being told that you should be prioritizing being found on Google, and then Googling yourself or something that you want to be found for and not showing up. If you offer grief therapy, searching grief therapy in your city and you're nowhere to be found, that's frustrating, and I hear that a lot from clinicians. So I want to walk through today the 4 most common mistakes that I see folks make when it comes to their website, and reasons they aren't being found on Google, so that you know what to do or what not to do when it comes to hopefully starting to see some of that traction. The reason Google's so wonderful is because it's free. Who doesn't love free marketing, right? It's a free way to get in front of people that we know are looking for your services. It's different than social media. No one's getting on Google typing in anxiety therapy expecting to see pictures of their cousin's wedding. I am getting on Facebook looking for that. So when you're using things like social media, it can be a great marketing tool, but you're not necessarily running into people at their point of need. So Google is so powerful because if someone's typing in anxiety therapy, you can feel pretty confident they're looking for therapy for anxiety. So if you can show up there, you're going to be meeting them at their point of need, getting them onto your website and saying, hey, I understand you and I know how to help solve your problems. That's the beauty of SEO, and when this works well, what it can do in your marketing, all for free. So the 4 common mistakes that I see clients make, the very, very first one is that your website isn't old enough. Every single time I work with a client on their copy, whether that's inside of my group program, Confident Copy, whether that is with a one-on-one client, if we are building a brand new website, I let them know and I set the expectation up front that you are not going to see results in Google, on Google, in SEO for a while. Google is going to test you. Google's going to sit and it's going to watch and it's going to make sure that you are actually a legitimate resource for this. So if you are launching your website for the very first time and maybe you've read about SEO and you've done everything you know to do when it comes to ranking on Google and you still aren't showing up, one of the most basic reasons that may be is because you simply haven't, your website isn't old enough yet. Google puts you in what's called a sandbox when your website is new, and you'll be there for 6, 9, 12 months before you really start to see traction, where they're basically just watching to make sure that you are legitimate, to see, are people going to this website? Is this website being updated? It's going to be looking at all of those signals in order to determine if you are actually a resource that Google is, wants to show as the answer to someone's search when they type something into Google. So if your website is brand new, please know that you can do everything right and still not see results immediately. So please don't press launch and then go Google yourself and get frustrated. Understand that this is a long-term investment. Now, I know that's a little bit frustrating, especially if you're new in your practice and you want results, right? I hear you on that. But know that making this investment up front, especially getting a website for the very first time built with the correct structure and all these best practices in place, is going to set you up for success and is going to help you get found sooner on Google. But recognize that that isn't going to be, in a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months. It may be, an extended period of time. So have that expectation going into it. That will alleviate some of the frustration around getting found. One thing that you can do in order to make sure that Google has seen your website and does, see what you're all about, is submitting your website to be indexed by Google. All that says is it's raising a flag to Google's little bots and saying, hey, come look at my website, come index me, come read everything, and start, seeing me as a legitimate resource, and look at all my content and get me in the system. So you can do that really easily. It's free by using Google Search Console. That is Google's free product when it comes to ranking on Google and things like that. Super simple to set up. Simply I recommend going to Google and typing in your platform, so Squarespace, WordPress, Google Search Console, and you'll find a lot of great tutorials on how to do that. But that's a great way to raise your hand and say, hey Google, my website's done, it's live, send your bots and get me in that sandbox as quickly as possible so I can get out of it as quickly as possible. So that first mistake is just that your website isn't old enough. Like I said, I know that can be a little bit discouraging because you want results now, but recognize that Google is just one marketing strategy that you can absolutely start seeing traction from your website sooner rather than later. But when it comes to ranking organically, it is going to take a bit of a time investment. Next up, the second mistake that I often see clients make is that there's not enough content on your website. Google likes long content. Actually, I think that the average word count of just pages across the internet, right? So every topic ever, I think the average word count is upwards of 1,000 or 2,000 words. It's a lot of words. If you've ever counted the number of words that you've typed for your website on a certain page, chances are it's definitely not that long. So know that Google wants, they need enough content. It's not enough to just slap up like your practice name and maybe a list of your services and a call now button. Think of why that is though. When someone goes looking for something in Google, it is in Google's best interest to serve up the most legitimate, most helpful content possible. Do you appear like the most legitimate, most helpful therapist possible if your website is just, or a page of your website is just, 50 or 100 or 200 words? Probably not. And so it's not in Google's best interest to serve that as an answer to someone's query. So that is something to keep in mind, that when you're writing content for your website, it needs to be, I use the word beefy a lot, it needs to be substantial. You should aim for upwards of 500 to 600 words per page of your website. On those core pages that you would like to rank. So usually that's your home page, your about page, definitely your specialty pages. These need to be fairly lengthy. Otherwise, Google isn't going to view you as that legitimate resource that person's looking for. So one of the biggest mistakes I see when I sit down with a client for a free strategy session and look at their website is often that there's just not enough there. Now, you might say, well, I don't like long websites. Well, I don't like boring websites, is probably a more accurate term. You will read long content. You will scroll if it's useful to you and if it's laid out correctly and if there's a place for your eye to rest, and if you can scroll to the content that's most relevant to you. So please don't shy away from writing more simply because you're worried people won't read it. If you lay it out correctly, if you're answering things that are relevant to what this person is looking for, if you talk in a way that is conversational and easy to understand, then it's going to be awesome and it's going to perform well for you. And when I walk clients through how to write their websites and those formats and those frameworks, there are individual sections. So there are ways to talk about, okay, how do I connect with my client? How do I talk about the work that I do? How do I express empathy? When you think about your website and your content in those kind of blocks, it gives you this opportunity to sort of dive into each area. And that's where a lot of some of that length can come from, to make sure that you're writing enough. So that second mistake is that there's just not enough content. So if your website's been up for a while, but you go to it and it is this long, that could be one of the challenges that you're seeing when it comes to ranking on Google. The third mistake that I often see clinicians make when it comes to ranking on Google is they're not targeting things that people are actually searching for. They haven't optimized their website for what their client is looking for. What does your ideal client type into Google to find you? Probably not a Brene Brown quote. So if a Brene Brown quote is at the top of your website and you don't make any reference to therapy for anxiety or anxiety counseling or grief therapy or whatever it is that you do, then you are limiting yourself. And so the very first step, honestly, if you want a Google-friendly website that you should be embarking on, is digging into what people are actually looking for. The good news is that that's out there. There are great tools. The tool that I recommend using is called Ubersuggest, U-B-E-R, Suggest. Ubersuggest will show you the number of people that are looking for a term and how difficult it is to rank for that term. The goal would be that you would write your specialty pages, write your homepage, write your about page, targeting a keyword that has enough people looking for it and isn't terribly difficult to rank for. Now, what's an example of how that might work? A term like online therapy, especially due to the pandemic, tons of people are looking for, right? More than ever, but it is incredibly difficult to rank for, incredibly difficult to show up on pages 1 to 3, 4. So it's probably not going to do you a lot of good to, write an entire page targeted just to the term online therapy because it's so competitive. Now, what if you were to, I'm just throwing this out there, target online therapy for children or online play therapy? Now, if you types that into Google or into Ubersuggest, you may find, and again, I'm just throwing this out there, you may find that there's decent search volume, but it's not as difficult to rank for. Well, great. That shows us that that's probably a good thing for you to write on. And so when you have that keyword, then you can, we call that a keyword, the phrase that you want people to type into Google to find you for. If we know that we're targeting something that people are looking for and that isn't too difficult to rank for, then we're setting ourselves up for success. So you're going to put that keyword at the top of your website. You're going to write a page title and a page description that incorporates that keyword. You're going to reference that keyword throughout the content. You're going to talk about the synonyms, anxiety, online anxiety counseling, therapy for anxiety, all those kinds of things. Google has gotten really intelligent when it comes to understanding language and synonyms. But when you know that you're targeting something people are looking for and that you can rank for, you're setting yourself up for success. So if you visit one of the pages of your website and you're targeting a really, really general term, or you don't really appear to have any focus or topic for that page at all, then that could be one of your challenges. One of the other challenges I see come up in sort of this area is if you have one services page or one specialty page. If your one specialty page has couples counseling, anxiety counseling, grief therapy, all on one page, then you don't appear to be an expert in any one of those things in the eyes of Google. That's why having individual specialty pages is incredibly critical when it comes to ranking on Google. You need a page dedicated to each of the things that you would ultimately like to show up on Google for. Specialty pages are the way to do that. So that third one is that you're not targeting things that people are ultimately searching for. So going back and doing some of that research can be really, really powerful. The fourth mistake that I often see clinicians make, and this is more of a website kind of build design type issue, is your site isn't performing well enough. Maybe it has a really, really slow load time. Or maybe it's not optimized for mobile, which these days probably 50% or more, of your website visitors are likely visiting from their phone. If your website isn't optimized for those kinds of things, Google will dock you because, again, it's in Google's best interest that they serve up a legitimate resource that gets them the information they need. If your website can't get them that quickly or doesn't show it in an optimized way, Google's going to dock you for that. Again, Ubersuggest is a great tool to use. You could consider dropping your domain into Ubersuggest and you'll get a quick little SEO audit. And they'll tell you if you have images that are too big or if your load time is too slow, and some things that you can improve there. Sometimes it really does just come down to how well your website is performing, because again, that's another thing that Google looks at. How well does your website actually load and present this information? That can be another sort of sticking point. So that's the fourth thing that I see often, is that the website just isn't optimized technically. And like I said, there's some great tools out there that can help you with that. So those are the four things. The four most common mistakes that I see clinicians make when they get frustrated about why they're not showing up on Google. A bonus one that I will leave you with, a lot of what we've talked about so far has been what you can control on your website. We call that on-page SEO. These are the things within your website that you have control of, writing enough content, making sure you're targeting keywords that are relevant to your client. But there's also another side of SEO called off-page SEO. And this is basically votes of confidence. Google is going to look at signals of people visiting your site, of links to your site, to understand how legitimate you are and to sort of measure that. And so one thing that you'll often hear people talk about in relation to SEO is the word backlinks. That's basically any link outside of your website around the internet that links back to your website. The more backlinks you have, the more legitimate you appear. It's strengthening the fabric, right, of how Google views you. And so one of the one investment you can absolutely make and should make in your website is making sure that you're talked about on the internet. It's why guest blogging can be really, really powerful. It's why things like Google My Business and Bing and Yellow Pages and even some of those services that you yourself don't even use can be really helpful. It's why a service called Help a Reporter Out, HARO, you can sign up to be an interviewee or a resource for journalists that are writing articles, and then they'll link to your website. Any place that you can be listed on the internet and link back to you is a sign to Google that if other people are talking about you, you must know what you're talking about, right? So another reason that oftentimes if we have a really well optimized website, we won't see results on Google is that the backlinks and the off-page SEO isn't strong enough. And so it's in your best interest to go out and network on the internet, making sure that your website is being talked about, that your information is accurate, that those links come back to your website, and that you're showing Google, hey, I know what I'm talking about, and these people agree. That's basically what you're saying. So that's kind of a bonus tip I'll leave you with. It looks like we've got a couple questions. So Jacqueline, does it pay to do Facebook ads? Jacqueline, that's a great question. Kind of similar to what I referenced here at the beginning of the training. People aren't on Facebook looking for a therapist. They are on Google looking for a therapist. That's not to say that Facebook ads cannot work for you in your practice, but it is unlikely that you are going to see results from posting or running an ad specifically related to your therapy services to a cold audience, to people that have never heard of you before. If you are wanting to invest in paid ads, going the Google ads route is likely to be a better strategy for you. The time that I do see Facebook ads be beneficial to clinicians is when they have some sort of content marketing strategy in place. So maybe they're offering a free resource around, anxiety or 5 tips to combat burnout or whatever, and then some sort of email marketing strategy in place to sort of nurture that relationship. That's more likely to perform better on Facebook. If you're wanting to get people directly to your website and to sign up for a free consultation, Google's going to be a lot better route for you because people are on Google looking for you. People aren't on Facebook looking explicitly for you. So hopefully that's helpful. Any way to easily do a word count? Stacy, yes. Any kind of word tool, software, will be able to provide that for you. So if you write in Google Docs, you can click, I believe it's format or tools. I don't know, I have a Google Doc open here. Click on tools, and then word count. Same with something like, Microsoft Word or something like that, and you'll be able to see how many you're at. It'll also give you, things like characters and stuff like that. So a great thing to keep an eye on as you're writing. I understand if what I've gone through feels a little bit overwhelming, especially if I've talked really quickly. You can tell I've had my coffee this morning, this Friday. I understand that this can feel overwhelming. I also want you to know that it's possible. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to be a tech genius. If you want support in this process, we actually dedicate an entire week to SEO inside of my group program, Confident Copy. So I'm going to teach you how to do this research and figure out what people are looking for. And then over the course of the rest of the program, I'm going to help you write content that isn't just Google friendly, because Google is great, but is also client friendly and feels really authentic to you. We actually just wrapped up the final week of Confident Copy, and it's been incredible to see the copy that people have, that the students inside have created. The next round of Confident Copy is starting in January, but the waitlist is going to close next month. So it's going to close on December 10th. If you sign up for the waitlist before then, you will qualify for an exclusive discount. There's no obligation if you decide to sign up for the waitlist and don't register, but that will be the only opportunity for you to secure that discount. So if you're interested, if Confident Copy sounds like something that you need support in when it comes to SEO, when it comes to writing this content, when it comes to marketing, head to walkerstrategyco.com/cc, just the two letters, CC. You can sign up for the waitlist. Like I said, that closes December 10th. You'll hear from me shortly thereafter with more information about that discount and what to expect. The doors will open early to waitlist members so that you get first dibs on those spots. I did have to cap the program last time, so there is only a limited number available. And I would love, if this sounds like something that you're looking for, to welcome you in. So, not seeing any other questions come through. Oh, Michelle, what is your opinion on including pricing on your website? Michelle, great question. I believe pricing belongs on your website, period. The reason for that is, I have multiple reasons for that. The very first one is that it increases transparency and trust with your ideal client. If you are a private pay clinician, even if you're not, but specifically if you are, I want you to get really high quality ideal clients scheduling consultations with you and contacting you. One of the ways to make sure and to increase the quality of the people that are reaching out to you is to allow places for people to qualify themselves on your website. One of the ways to do that is to figure out, am I willing to pay this amount for for therapy or not? Hopefully your website does an amazing job of like, all right, Michelle, you are obviously an expert. I want to work with you. How much is it going to cost? Great, sign me up. For those that aren't able to pay your full fee, listing that on your website prevents another step where you have to let them know that you're not a good fit for them, and they, have spent time reaching out to someone that they aren't ultimately going to be able to afford. So it increases transparency and trust. Now, what I will share with you is that I don't recommend putting your fees on places like your homepage or your specialty pages. I really like to see it on often a separate page dedicated to either fees and policies or FAQs. The reason for that is I want the strategic core pages of your website to do their job. I want them to connect to your ideal client, to talk about how you can help them, to really show them that you're the expert that they have been looking for. And then once those pages have done that, they can go ahead and click over and say, all right, Michelle, how much is it gonna cost? Because you're wonderful at what you do, and I know I want to work with you. If we place your pricing a little bit in some of those areas where we're trying to accomplish something else, we risk the possibility of someone being like, oh, can't do that, and exiting before you've really gotten a chance basically to say your piece. So I do believe pricing belongs on your website, but I believe it should be placed strategically on it. I hope that's helpful. You're so welcome. All right, friends, I'm not seeing anything else come through. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I think I flew through this on this Friday. Like I said, I had my coffee. I've been up a while. If you have more questions, I'm always happy to answer them, even after I press end live video here. Do just include that hashtag replay, and then whatever questions you have, I'm happy to answer them. Like I said, if you're interested in Confident Copy, the waitlist will close December 10th. So head to walkerstrategyco.com/cc if that's something you're interested in. And I'm really happy you're here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, a very happy Thanksgiving to our US folks, and I'll talk to you very soon.